You're welcome back to the conversation on News Central Television. It's now time for us to switch gears to Nigeria, where the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, recently extended their ultimatum to the government after it expired, demanding the immediate implementation of a 200% increase in the Consolidated Medical Salary Structure, CONMESS. This extension will be effective for an additional 2 weeks starting from July 5th to July the 19th. In addition to the CONMESS increase, NARD is also insisting on an upward review of associated allowances, as previously stated in their letters.
They argued that the current economic realities in the country do not justify the current payment of CONMESS or any increment below the demanded 200%. NARD expressed these demands in the communique issued at the conclusion of their extraordinary National Executive Council meeting. They emphasized that if their demands are not met by the expiration of the extended ultimatum on July 19th, they cannot guarantee doctoral harmony within the health sector nationwide. And now join us for this discussion, we have Dr. Jumbo Enyefiok as the Vice President, Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, Akwa Ibom, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation. So to begin with, Dr. Enyefiok, what are the specific reasons behind the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors' demand for a 200% increase in the Consolidated Medical Salary Structure, CONMESS?
Okay, thank you very much for having us this evening. I want to say that, in fact, the 200% earlier demanded was even before the fuel subsidy removal. If we want to go by the current economic realities, using the parameters which we had earlier used to calculate the 200%, we'll be talking about 550% increment in salary structure. Now, when we talk about the salary increment, we are not asking that we should be paid beyond what we were paid in 2009. In 2014. That's what we are asking for. Our purchasing power has grossly reduced, and currently our members are suffering the burnout and also experiencing tough times getting to their workplace, and such that sometimes they form groups so that maybe one person drives today, the next person the next day, and all of that. And that is unbecoming for doctors.
Now, Dr. Enyefiok, how does NARD, the National Association of Resident Doctors, justify their insistence on an upward review of associated allowances in addition to the increase in CONMESS? I do acknowledge the fact that you talked about the present-day economic realities, but the government will tell you that, look, you're not the only ones in the country. Why should your situation be special?
Well, we are essential health workers, and there is current brain drain, as you would notice in the country, where clinical staffs, especially the doctors and nurses, are leaving the country in droves. And we carried out a study about 2 years ago, and we found out that 80% of the reasons why these doctors are leaving is because of the paltry sum that they are getting as salary. Now, this salary was last reviewed in 2014. In fact, it was reviewed in 2009, then implemented in 2014. And upon the review, it was agreed that every 5 years that this salary structure will be reviewed, every 5 years. Now, at the time of its implementation, it was already due for review. So from 2014 till now, it's more than 10 years. It's more than 10 years. So you find out that we are just saying that we should be paid in pari passu what we got in 2009, 2010, 2014.
Now,
That's what we are asking.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Nefiok. So we have a situation here where the government has reneged on its agreements with the National Association of Resident Doctors. You did say that you provide essential services to the people, and we also do acknowledge the importance of the work of doctors. You also spoke to the point of brain drain, which has led to Nigerian doctors and clinical staff leaving in droves. Are there any alternatives, knowing the importance of the work and the services doctors provide, to strikes, to averting strikes and the threat of strikes, to drive home your demands? Have you explored all the avenues?
Yes, we've reached out to government, and we last had a conciliatory meeting following 5 days warning strike. And we shelved that strike as a sign of goodwill to the incoming government and also to the Nigerian people. And we reached an agreement. Several agreements were reached during that conciliatory meeting with all, in fact, the permanent secretaries of all the ministries important for implementing our agreements were there in that meeting, and timelines were set, like the timeline for implementation of the guidelines for one-to-one replacement of clinical staffs when they leave or exit the system. Now, the guideline was fixed for the 5th of June. You will agree with me that we are in July. And you find out that that's a guideline. In fact, that circular has not been released. And this is just secular, and it's not even the monetary aspect that we're talking about. So you find out that it's as if whenever we finish all these agreements and all these committees being set up, and everybody goes back home and relax, and nothing is being done. So we reached several agreements, but of all the agreements, none has been implemented.
Okay, now for the purpose of clarity, I still go back a bit because you talked about lots of agreements. On one side, we're seeing salary structuring. You talk about the exit of staff. Could you provide more details on the agreement reached between the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors and the government regarding the immediate payment of the 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund? Because I see that that is also one of the arguments that your association is having.
Yes, we did ask for the immediate payment of the MRTF, which is the Residency Training Fund. Now, it was agreed that these monies were supposed to be paid in the first quarter of the year. And we all know that this is not the first quarter. Now, we're told that, okay, when the 2023 budget kicks off, that will be paid. Now, the 2023, and specifically, it will be in June. And we are now in July. That payment is still not done. Our members are borrowing to attend update courses, to write exams, and all the rest that we are doing. So these are the things that we are calling on governments to come to our aid, to go back and look at the resolutions reached with us and implement it.
Now, Dr. Nefiok, let's talk about work conditions of doctors. What specific deplorable conditions have been observed by the National Association of Resident Doctors regarding their members and state tertiary health institutions, including Abia State, Imo State, Benue State, Nasarawa State, Kwara State, Bayelsa, Ogun State, and the Federal Capital Territory? Could you help paint a picture and explain what it takes for a doctor to work in conditions that are not fit for service as a medical practitioner?
Well, to say the least, it is saddening. It is appalling that we would be talking about states like Abia owing our members up to more than 25 months' salary. That's about more than 2 years. We've reached out to these state governments to come to the aid of these members. At least we are not those ones we are asking for their salaries. They've worked for 2 years and more, and you've not paid them. Same in Nasarawa and Benue and the likes, and several states keep emerging. So we are saying that if the state governments cannot manage or own tertiary institutions, then they should either hand it over to the federal government or do something. As in, it's really exasperating.
Now, what about the work conditions? You've talked about remuneration and the financial conditions of these doctors. What about the infrastructure, the work conditions?
And what response has the state government given concerning these conditions that you talk about?
Now, the thing is this: they would agree and see reasons with our plight, but they would not do anything about it. You see, some of our members don't have what to work with. And these are part of the reasons that make our members leave the country. Because you would train as a neurosurgeon, there's nothing to work with. So in some hospitals there is no water to wash your hands. In some hospitals there is no even light in the theater to do your surgeries. And in some of these hospitals, you will find out that call rooms where doctors should stay while they are on call so that they can attend to emergencies, those things are not there. And when patients come to the hospital, especially in the emergency department, and these equipments needed for us to carry out our services are not there, they turn to the doctor, and you see cases of doctors being beaten, the clinical staff being assaulted. So these are the reasons, because they think that we are the cause. You know that doctors are humans. They cannot work without these facilities. They are not spiritualists. They work with instruments and equipment. These things are not there. So these are part of the reasons we are calling on the federal government, on the state. Now, the salary disparity between the state doctors who have the same qualification with the federal doctors are not the same. So these are part of the reasons why we are calling on them. Look at the doctors' welfare. Let the doctors be paid in the same way the federal doctors are being paid. Pay the MROTF to the state doctors also, and implement CONMESS salary structure to the doctors also working in the states. So these disparities and discriminations are not welcome. And these things we've met with the Governors Forum. We've met with them, and they've promised severally to intervene, but we've still not seen the results.
Now, for Abdusay, you talked about a 2 years backlog. Now, let's talk about the outstanding arrears of members of NARD. How far long are we looking at the outstanding arrears that has been owed to the NARD doctors?
They're skipping arrears from 2014, 2015, 2016. So that's how far long. So and even the consequential adjustment of the minimum wage, and even the hazard allowance that was recently increased, some of our members are yet to be paid the arrears of this hazard allowance, and we've reached out to these agencies, these ministries, to pay our members. And in the conciliatory meeting that we held, they all alluded to this, and they all gave timelines to ensure to implementing all of these, but they've not kept to their words.
Quite a sad and unfortunate situation. Now, what actions will your association take? What's the next line of actions if the federal government fails to comply with your or meet your needs?
Well, if they don't meet our needs in 2 weeks, we will take the progress made to our members through the NEC, and we will discuss, and the NEC would decide what actions to take. further.
Now, a short while ago, the federal government proposed something to arrest incidents of brain drain. They say, you know, Nigerian doctors been trained with so much money by the federal government, and the government is losing out when, after training them, subsidizing their training, they leave the country, that they should be made to stay in the country for at least a few years to pay back in service for what they enjoyed, the subsidized rate of education they got in Nigeria. What do you make of that, and of that approach to addressing the problem of brain drain, and what would you advise as the best way to deal with this situation?
Well, it's laughable to say that training of doctors in Nigeria is being subsidized. That's not true.
I mean, it's cheaper than in other countries, comparatively.
Well, comparatively to the school fees of other students in the university, I think we even pay more school fees than other students studied in the universities. And there are no special scholarships given to medical doctors by the federal government, such that to aid our training to become doctors. So whatever tuition fees that that the government subsidizes, it subsidizes for all Nigerians. So if doctors are meant to be perhaps handcuffed and kept in Nigeria, I think all Nigerians should be handcuffed and kept in Nigeria.
That's a serious one there, I must say.
Interesting way to
Interesting one, yes. Yeah. But we do hope that the government is able to listen to your demands, because it's been going on, and we don't want a situation where we continue with all of this. But thank you so much for sharing so much thoughts on the conversation. We do hope for the next 2 weeks and your next meeting to see what next action your association will be taking. Thank you, Dr. Jumbo Enyefiok, Vice President, Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors at Akwa Ibom, Nigeria, for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for hosting me.